I stared at the subject line in disbelief. Sale confirmation. Hillside Villa. And just like that, my childhood was officially gone. My fingers hovered above the trackpad, refusing to scroll. I'd read it right. The email wasn't a scam or some mistake. Mom had really sold it. The house on the hill where Dad used to water the lemon tree every Sunday. The place where I learned to ride a bike, bled on the gravel, cried when the cat disappeared, and buried half my childhood in boxes under the stairs. It was gone, just like that. I blinked hard, willing it to be a misunderstanding. But attached was the sale document, clean, legal. My mother's signature at the bottom. No carbon copy to me, no call, not even a damn warning. The lump in my throat pulsed. This had to be a joke, except Miriam didn't joke about real estate, especially not about property my father left behind for his daughters. I checked the date again. Finalized 2 days ago. 2 days, and she hadn't said a word. I minimized the window, clicked open Clara's Instagram. Maybe it would help to see her face. The first story popped up instantly. Blue water, white stone, her tanned legs up on a lounge chair. Santorini vibes with mom heart eyes. Chef family first, read the caption. My stomach turned. There were 3 more stories, one of them laughing over oysters, another of her holding up a cocktail with a flower in it. The last question mark. A slow motion pan of the sunset, the pink sky reflecting on her sunglasses, Mom's voice in the background, giggling like a teenager. My phone buzzed. A text. From Mom. Can you cover the credit card? Clara forgot her wallet again. My breath caught. I stared at the screen, rereading it. No apology, no context. Just an assumption. Just one more moment in a lifetime of them thinking I'd always say yes, always play the responsible one, the one who stayed behind while they posed in paradise. I swallowed my rage. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I opened my budgeting app. My name was still tied to the joint credit card. They'd insisted years ago it would help build my credit. I should have shut it down when I turned 25, but I hadn't, because part of me still believed they cared enough to respect boundaries. What a joke. I found myself walking toward my desk, pulling open drawers, flipping through files. I wasn't looking for anything specific, just something to prove I wasn't losing my mind. Dad's will? The handwritten letter he left me in a box labeled, "For when I'm gone?" I hadn't looked at it in years, but there it was. I sat on the floor and unfolded it slowly. His handwriting still made my heart ache. Vivian, you've always been the strong one, the one with a sense of justice. If things ever feel unfair, trust your gut. And don't be afraid to fight for what's right. The tears came without permission, but they didn't last long. I folded the letter with trembling hands and slipped it back in its envelope. Dad had known. He knew. Even back then. I wiped my cheeks, took a deep breath, and picked up my phone. The urge to call and scream down the line was almost overwhelming. But I didn't want noise. I wanted consequences. I tapped open my contacts, searched for Mr. Grant. He'd handled Dad's estate after the funeral, helped finalize the will. Last time we spoke, I was 17 and still trusting that Mom meant well. I found his number, hesitated, then hit call. Voicemail. I waited for the beep. Hi, Mr. Grant. It's Vivian Hall. You handled my father's will a while back. Something's happened, and I think I need legal advice. I ended the call, heart pounding. This wasn't just about the villa anymore. It was about every time I'd been left out, dismissed, made to feel like the backup plan. This time, I wasn't going to let it slide. I walked back to my laptop, clicked open a new email. My fingers were steady now. To miriam.hall@email.com, subject, card payment. You'll hear from my lawyer soon. I hit send. Are you sure you want to freeze the account? The bank rep asked. Yes, I said, especially if it funds betrayal. I didn't wait for his reply. The line went silent for a second before the sound of a keyboard tapped in the background. He cleared his throat. All right, Ms. Hall. The account's been locked for now, pending further investigation. I ended the call without saying thank you. The cafe was half empty, rain tracing lazy lines down the windows like the morning was trying to dissolve. I sat in the far corner, tucked behind the espresso machine where no one could see my hands shaking. Not with nerves. No, not anymore. It was adrenaline now. Sharp, cutting, focused. Years ago, Mom had talked me into opening the card. "It'll be in your name," she said, "just in case we need to build some history for you." What she meant was, so I can use it when Clara forgets her wallet or books a flight she can't afford. I was 20 then, too eager to please, still stupid enough to think that being helpful made me valuable. I took a sip of my lukewarm coffee, logged into the online banking portal again. The balance was shocking. Thousands in airfare, hotels, jewelry, charges from Mykonos and Milan. Clara had been forgetting her wallet a lot lately. I closed the browser. No more reacting. It was time to act. The rain picked up as I stepped outside, wind cold against my cheeks. Mr. Grant's office was just 4 blocks away. I kept my head down, hood up, moving fast. This wasn't a stroll. It was a mission. I hadn't spoken to him in years, not since Dad's funeral. But if anyone could make sense of this, it was him. The door chimed as I stepped in. Same scent, leather, books, time. A secretary looked up, startled. "Can I help you?" "I need to see Mr. Grant. I'm Vivian Hall." Her eyes flicked to her screen, and then she nodded. "One moment." He appeared in the doorway himself, silver hair, reading glasses in hand. He looked exactly as I remembered, like time had been respectful of him. "Vivian," he said, with something like recognition and relief. "Come in." His office hadn't changed. Shelves of legal books, a photo of him and my dad shaking hands at a ribbon-cutting ceremony, an old crystal decanter with untouched whiskey. I sat before he offered. "I assume this isn't a social call," he said, sitting across from me. "My mother sold the hillside villa." He paused. "I see." "She didn't tell me, or ask, but I'm pretty sure that property was protected in the will. My father, he wouldn't have allowed this." Mr. Grant leaned back, steepled his fingers. "Did you sign anything?" "Number? And if you get any documents with my signature, it's forged." He didn't blink. "That's a serious accusation." "It's a serious betrayal." He stood and moved to a filing cabinet behind him. "Your father was meticulous. He left everything clearly outlined. I warned him it might not hold if someone decided to challenge it, but he believed you girls would never turn on each other." I scoffed. He was half right. He returned with a thick folder, slid it onto the desk, and opened to a page marked in yellow. I leaned in. "There." He tapped. Clause 17. No heir may independently sell or transfer ownership of any shared property unless all siblings listed in this document provide written, notarized consent. I stared at it. She broke the will. "Depends how it was filed," he said calmly. "But yes, if she did this without your permission and the property was under this clause, we have grounds. I want to fight this." He studied me. "Are you prepared for how ugly this could get?" I nodded. "She's already spent the money." He smiled, a tight, satisfied thing. "I'll represent you, not for a retainer, not for a fee. Your father was a good man. He'd want someone in your corner." I swallowed, unsure how to respond, but the weight pressing on my chest had lifted slightly. He slid a copy of the will toward me. "Take this. Read it. We'll draft a formal letter of dispute and serve it within the week." I picked up the document with both hands, heart thudding like I was holding a weapon, not a folder. "This changes everything." The rain had stopped by the time I left his office. My phone buzzed in my pocket, another notification from Clara's vacation photos. I didn't even look. If they wanted a quiet betrayal, they picked the wrong daughter. Family dinners used to mean lasagna and laughter. Tonight, I brought legal documents and silence. I stood outside the front door for a full 30 seconds before knocking. The lights inside were soft and golden, casting warm silhouettes against the curtains, like everything was still intact, but I knew better now. I wasn't coming here for comfort. I was coming for confrontation. Miriam answered the door with her signature smile, 1 part performative, 2 parts manipulation. "Vivian, you look tired, sweetheart. Work's been too much, hasn't it?" I stepped past her without a word, clutching the leather folder under my coat. The smell of garlic bread wafted from the kitchen. My stomach turned. Not from hunger, but from how easily they could pretend everything was fine. Clara sat at the dining table, wine glass in hand, leg draped over the other like she owned the house. "Look who's decided to join us," she said. "You clean up well." Nathan was next to her. He gave me a polite nod, but there was tension in his jaw. He knew me too well to pretend this was just dinner. I sat down across from them, placing the folder beside my plate. My fingers brushed over its edge once before pulling back. Not yet. "So," Miriam began, scooping pasta onto her plate, "how's the cafe?" "Still underpaid and overworked?" She chuckled like it was charming. "Still mine," I replied coolly. Clara leaned in. "You should take a vacation, Viv. Maybe Greece? Mom and I could give you tips." I stared at her, watching the smirk play on her lips. She didn't get it. Or maybe she didn't care. Either way, the joke was wearing thin. "You know," she added, taking a sip, "being the favorite comes with perks." Miriam laughed. Light, effortless. "Oh, don't tease your sister." My hand moved to the folder. Slowly, deliberately, I opened it. Silence. "I'm not here for dinner," I said. "I'm here to give you both the courtesy you never gave me, the truth." Clara blinked. Miriam's smile tightened. I slid the top page forward, the printed bank statement. "That's the joint credit card, the one in my name. You've charged over $12,000 since February. I never authorized it." Miriam waved a hand. "Vivian, darling, you always overreact. You never used the card anyway. It was just sitting there. Not yours to use," I cut in. "Not without my consent." Clara leaned back. "God, Viv, it's just a card. You act like we robbed a bank." I laid down the next sheet. "And this is a copy of Dad's will. Clause 17, highlighted. No heir may sell shared property without full sibling consent." Their faces shifted, just slightly. Miriam recovered first. "You're twisting things. That clause was more of a guideline. Your father always said—" "What he wrote," I snapped, "which you ignored." Clara's eyes darted to the paper, then to Miriam. "Wait. You said it was fine, that it was all handled." "It is," Miriam said too quickly. "Vivian is just being dramatic." I reached for the last sheet. "And this," I slid it across the table, voice calm but cutting, "is a transcription of a voicemail. Nathan's voice, arranging document signatures. You told him to handle it, to sign on my behalf." Nathan stiffened. His hand clenched around his fork. Miriam's lips parted, but no words came. "I recorded everything," I said, "including this dinner." Nathan stood abruptly. "You didn't know I'd find out?" I met his gaze. "Or you didn't think I'd remember you left me for Clara and my mother paid off your student debt?" He went silent. I turned to Miriam. "You sold Dad's memory without flinching. I'm done flinching too." Her expression cracked, just for a second. Then she looked down at her plate. Clara said nothing. I stood, took the folder, slid it back into my coat. The dining room was still glowing, but the warmth had died. Consider this dinner, my last supper with this family. I didn't expect Clara to cry, not because she wasn't capable of it, but because she never had to. Her voice broke mid-sentence, catching me off guard as I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. I was sitting in Mr. Grant's office again, the rain tapping nervously against the windows, as if the weather sensed what was about to unfold. "Viv," she whispered, "the credit card's frozen." I leaned back in the chair, watching the water smear the world outside into gray streaks. "Yes," I said, keeping my voice flat. "Miriam's losing it," Clara continued, her words tumbling out. "She's saying I should have checked the clause, that I should have known. She's saying this is all my fault." A pause, a sniffle. I didn't respond. "She says you're trying to punish us," she added, "that you're overreacting, that you're making this a vendetta." I turned my head slightly toward Mr. Grant. He didn't look up from the file he was reviewing, but his presence was grounding, like the legal equivalent of a lighthouse in a fogged-up harbor. I drew a breath. "You didn't know about the clause?" "No," Clara snapped, then immediately softened. "No, I didn't. She just said everything was fine, that Dad left it all to her discretion." I almost laughed. Dad never trusted her with that kind of discretion. You know that. I should have asked more questions, she said, voice crumbling again. I thought she'd checked. You thought I wouldn't. Silence. The rain intensified, filling the room with its dull, rhythmic hiss. I let it speak for me for a moment. I didn't know she put all that debt in your name, Clara said finally. I saw a few charges, but I didn't think it was... she said the account was hers. You've always had the luxury of believing what she tells you. Maybe I didn't want to believe otherwise. That was the closest thing to an apology I was going to get, at least for now. She wants me to call the bank and reverse the freeze, Clara added. She said it'll ruin her credit. She's freaking out. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the edge of Mr. Grant's desk. I'm not fixing this for her. I know. A whisper. But will you talk to her? I looked out the window again. A woman passed by under a red umbrella, hurrying. The world kept moving, oblivious to family betrayals. No, I said, but I'll give you a choice. Mr. Grant looked up then, sensing the shift in tone. You have 7 days, I said. Tell Mom, fix it, or we go public and legal. Clara didn't answer right away. I imagined her sitting on her bed, mascara running, fingers gripping the phone like it might fall away with the truth. You really think she'll listen to me? She asked. I don't care if she listens. I care if you do. Another pause, then, she'll say I'm turning on her. She already turned on both of us, I said quietly. You're just late to the realization. Mr. Grant reached for a folder and slid a draft letter across the desk toward me. This is the preliminary notice, he said calmly. If there's no resolution by next week, we proceed. I nodded once, not breaking eye contact with the rain. Clara exhaled shakily. You don't know what she's capable of, Viv. Neither does she. Clara wasn't on my doorstep to apologize. She came with a flash drive and history written over in silence. She didn't knock like someone uncertain. Her knuckles hit the wood twice, firm, intentional. I stood just inside, staring through the peephole for a moment before opening the door. Her eyes were rimmed red, but her chin didn't tremble. Her coat was soaked at the shoulders, and her hand gripped a tiny silver drive like it might vanish if she let go. I stepped aside. She entered without asking. The apartment was dim, one lamp on in the corner casting amber light against the pale walls. Clara looked around like she hadn't been here in years, which was true. She hadn't visited since Dad's funeral. She didn't sit. Neither did I. I'm not here to beg, she said. I didn't assume you were. She held out the flash drive. I stared at it. What's on it? You should hear it. She said it like it wasn't her voice I'd be hearing, like it was someone else's shame entirely. I took the drive and walked over to my laptop, plugging it in without ceremony. I opened the only file on it, recording 0314.wave. The audio started in the middle of a conversation, low, muffled. Then Miriam's voice broke through, clear as glass. You don't need to wait for Vivian, she said. She won't care. Just sign it. It's fine. She's the type who'll forgive it later. Nathan's voice replied. You sure? Her name's on the docs. I'm sure, Miriam snapped. I'll handle her. She's always too busy to notice. A clink of glass, laughter, Clara's laugh, then silence. I clicked pause. Clara was still standing. There's more, she said, but that's the part that matters. I turned toward her slowly. Why do you have this? Nathan started recording everything after you confronted him. He thought Mom would throw him under the bus. He sent it to me last night. Said I should do something with it before he does. I studied her. And you decided to help me? She looked away. I decided to help myself. I waited. She's blaming me for everything now, Clara muttered. Says I'm the one who told Nathan to sign for you. That I knew about the clause. That I was in on it from the beginning. Weren't you? She flinched. Not completely. I knew something felt wrong. But every time I tried to ask questions, she'd shut me down. She's been doing that since we were kids. You know that. I did, but that didn't excuse anything. You could have told me weeks ago, I said. She nodded, guilt flickering across her features. I know, But she's coming for me now, Viv. She's freezing my account, threatening to tell Dad's old business partners I'm unstable. She said if I don't help her clean this up, she'll ruin me. So now you're scared, I said, voice even. Now it's real. Yes? The word came out brittle, honest. I didn't move for a long time. The rain had started again outside. It pattered gently against the windows, softening everything except what sat between us. Why should I trust you? I asked. You shouldn't. That, at least, was honest. But I don't want to go down with her, Clara added. And neither should you. I looked back at the laptop. I pressed play again. This time, I let the entire clip play. Miriam's voice threading through minute after minute of manipulation, of instructions, of casual dismissal, like my consent was an afterthought. Vivian won't care. She'll forgive it later. The chair creaked beneath me as I leaned forward. This wasn't just betrayal, it was fraud. Premeditated, documented. Clara stepped closer. So what now? I unplugged the drive and slipped it into my pocket. I stood. Now, I said, I give this to Mr. Grant, and we file. She nodded. I grabbed my coat. Viv, Clara called as I reached the door. I turned. Her voice was small. She'll hate me for this. She already does, I said. She just preferred when you didn't know. Clara didn't follow me. She stood in the middle of my living room like a woman watching her house burn from the inside. I opened the door. Then it's not just about saving the villa anymore. It's about burning the lie. The courtroom was quiet, too quiet, like truth was holding its breath. The air felt thick, as if each unsaid word added weight to the room. Warm light spilled through the tall windows, but it didn't reach the people inside. Not really. It pooled on the polished wood floor, lighting up dust particles that danced like ghosts above the judge's bench. I sat straight-backed beside Mr. Grant, my hands still and folded, my name already called. Clara was behind me, eyes fixed forward, her fingers twitching in her lap. Across the aisle, Miriam sat like she belonged here. Shoulders stiff, jaw locked, eyes rimmed in a shade of smug defiance. The clerk's voice echoed, Civil Case 271-A, Hall versus. Hall. Mr. Grant rose. Your Honor, we'll begin with the last will and testament of the late Daniel Hall. He handed the judge a copy. I watched Miriam's eyes flicker. Not fear, calculation. She was weighing which part she could still control. Mr. Grant continued, calm and deliberate. Clause 17 clearly states no property designated to the beneficiaries may be sold or transferred without written consent of all named heirs. The judge read the page silently, then nodded. Next, we present a digital recording, dated March 14th, between the defendant and Mr. Nathan Keller, where the defendant instructs him to falsify consent. The courtroom stayed silent, but tension tightened like a rope pulling taut. The audio began. Miriam's voice, crystal clear. She won't notice. Just sign it. And then Nathan's voice, hesitant. Miriam again. I'll handle her. The judge stopped the playback after 1 minute. Clara Hall, please take the stand. She rose slowly, her steps heavier than they looked. She swore in, voice trembling only on the last syllable. Mr. Grant approached. Ms. Hall, were you present during the conversation heard in that recording? Yes. Did your mother, Miriam Hall, inform you that the sale of the hillside villa required your sister's written consent? Number she told me everything was already signed. Were you aware that the credit card tied to Vivian Hall's name was being used to fund personal travel? Her lips parted, then pressed together. Yes, she said finally, but I didn't understand how much, or that it was wrong. And when did you realize? When she froze the account, when Mom blamed me. Miriam didn't flinch. No further questions. The judge turned to the defense. Would you like to cross-examine? Miriam stood herself. No lawyer, no notes. I never told anyone to forge a signature, she said flatly. That recording is edited, and if there was debt, it was agreed upon. Vivian never said no. And silence implies consent. The judge arched a brow. Not in this courtroom. Miriam's mouth twitched. And the will? he asked. She hesitated. I don't recall that clause being part of the final copy, she said. Mr. Grant stood. We request a handwriting comparison between the submitted will and the version used to authorize the sale. The judge nodded. Granted. A court officer delivered both versions to a clerk. The difference was immediate. One signature flowed with familiarity. The other was slightly off, like someone mimicking a song they barely remembered. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The judge adjusted his glasses. Miriam Hall, based on the evidence and testimony presented, this court finds that the sale of Hillside Villa was unauthorized and that willful misrepresentation occurred in the handling of shared property. Miriam didn't move. Vivian Hall, he continued, you are hereby released from all financial obligation tied to the misused accounts. Restitution will be calculated and returned under civil recovery law. Still, no reaction from her. Mr. Grant sat down beside me again, quietly folding his notes. The bailiff called for a recess. I stood slowly. Clara followed behind me. We exited the courtroom together, the door clicking shut like a punctuation mark. Outside, the sun had broken through the clouds. It warmed my face as I stepped into the light. Clara touched my arm. Do you think she'll ever say sorry? I glanced back. She already did. With silence. The silence in the courtroom spoke louder than Miriam ever had. What began as quiet complicity ended with a verdict that didn't just clear a name, it cracked a legacy built on manipulation and control. Justice doesn't shout when it arrives. It simply stands tall, undeniable. Like a slow-burning truth, it may take its time, but when it comes, it scorches through every lie. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't retribution, it's liberation. And in the end, no mask can outlast the weight of truth.